Hello and welcome to our edition of Eye on Africa here on France 24. I'm Clarisse Fortuné and we start with the headlines. A potential peace deal between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda is set for signing on June 27, but with skepticism surrounding the timeline, we'll bring you the details. Foreign investments skyrocketed by 75% in 2024, hitting a record $97 billion in Africa, and Egypt is the main driver of this rebound. Elsewhere, the global trend is a decline for the second straight year. Nigeria has received over 100 Benin Bronzes from the Netherlands, one of the largest returns of colonial artifacts since 1897. 4 pieces will be showcased in Lagos, while the rest will be stored in Benin City. We start with the latest development for Eastern DRC. A tentative peace deal between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda is on the table. The US has announced that the country's 2 foreign ministers are due to sign a peace accord on June 27. But the timeline is optimistic, and there are doubts about its viability. Emmett Livingston in Kinshasa has more.
The US State Department announced late on Wednesday that ministers from Congo and Rwanda would meet to sign a peace agreement on the 27th of June. This would be a momentous development. Congo and Rwanda have been at loggerheads for over 3 years, nearly tipping Central Africa into regional war. Rebels from the M23 group, together with Rwandan forces, captured eastern Congo's 2 largest cities earlier this year. The Trump administration has been taking a heightened interest in Congo. It's currently negotiating a minerals deal with Congo, which is rich in copper and cobalt. And separately, it's been trying to resolve the crisis in the east. The draft peace deal, which comes after 3 days of talks between Congolese and Rwandan delegates in Washington, includes language on territorial integrity, the prohibition of hostilities, as well as the disarmament of armed groups. If put into effect, the deal would bring a great deal of hope to deeply impoverished Congo, which has dedicated a huge chunk of its resources towards the war. But many previous attempts at reconciling Congo and Rwanda have failed. In some cases, agreements were simply ignored on the battlefield. Last week, Rwanda's foreign minister also warned that a deal was far away. But now both he and his Congolese counterpart have confirmed the latest push for a deal. A final agreement, if it does go through, is due to be signed by the presidents of both Congo and Rwanda in Washington.
A Kenyan court has sentenced 2 men to 30 years in prison for their roles in a deadly attack at a hotel complex in Nairobi. They were convicted of facilitating and conspiring with the attackers, despite pleading not guilty. Prosecutors revealed that they helped 2 assailants obtain fake identity cards and provided financial support. In her ruling, Judge Diana Mochache stated that the attack that led to 21 people being killed may not have occurred without their involvement.
Those who facilitated the terrorists may not carry weapons, may not have carried weapons, but they are equally complicit in the violence that followed. This is more than criminal conduct. It is a betrayal of the very fabric of our nation. It is unforgivable. Let this sentence therefore speak not only through the law, but through the sorrow of our wounded people. For those who stood with the enemy, who helped to make the attack possible, today justice answers. And Kenya remembers.
The West African group ECOWAS has announced a new agreement with the military-led governments of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger to collaborate against terrorism. These 3 countries withdrew from ECOWAS last year, complicating efforts to enhance trade and security in the region. During a meeting in Abuja, ECOWAS President Omar Touré emphasized the importance of trust and cooperation in addressing terrorism and violence. The group also committed to advancing economic cooperation and development moving forward. Now let's turn our attention to business with some encouraging news from the continent. Foreign direct investment in Africa has reached a record high in 2024, totaling an impressive $97 billion, a remarkable 75% increase. In contrast, the rest of the world has experienced a decline for the 2nd consecutive year, with global investment falling by 11%. This information comes from the World Investment Report by the United Nations. And to help us understand the implications of this report for African economies, we are joined by Natalie Collins, the Director for Investment and Enterprise at the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. Welcome. Let's start with the headline figure, a 75% rise in FDI inflows to Africa in 2024 against a backdrop of global decline. What's driving this divergence?
Thank you for inviting me. First, I think this year we are seeing a good increase in Africa, but of course this is largely driven by one exceptionally large deal in Egypt. Right. If we take out this particular large deal, Africa's continent still sees 12% increase. And in terms of different region, we are seeing North Africa performing the best, contributing mostly to the growth. Other regions also have a moderate growth, except Western Africa. In Western Africa, we are seeing a drop of 7%. Right? And mostly due to political instability, debt issues, currency fluctuation. So, and in terms of the sectors, we're saying that renewable energy, digital infrastructure are getting a lot of investment and interests. But the critical sectors like agriculture, water, sanitation are not getting enough attention.
So you mentioned Egypt. What exactly drove Egypt to be behind this rebound? What kind of projects?
This is due to one large single project invested by Abu Dhabi, right? And this project is a large international project finance deal with a total size of 35 billion, right? So if this is really a big project. So this one really contributed to the growth, not just in Egypt, but continental-wide. Yeah. But taking out this project, we still see that Africa has a big potential, right? So, and then the prospect for 2025 is uncertain globally, and we're continuing to see that trade policies, geopolitical tension are delaying investment decisions globally, right? So if Africa can keep this momentum, I think the government also needs to strengthen the policy measures and improve investment climate, boost investor confidence, manage debt, and prepare more bankable pipelines, and particularly those in critical areas like digital infrastructure, regular infrastructure, right? We're seeing also digital economy as a fast-growing sector globally. You know, while other sectors are dropping, digital economy is really growing fast. So anywhere from data centers, fintech are the potential interesting areas.
Sorry, you mentioned a bit of the government's role. So your report also mentioned investment facilitation and liberalization as key trends. Can you give us some concrete examples?
Yes, investment facilitation means that you can provide a simplified procedure, easy entry for investors, right? So, for example, we have ongoing projects in Kenya, and we're helping the governments to build this one-stop digital platform. So it's making business registration in a very short time and reducing procedure and cost for investors. So this type of facilitation measures really help drive efficiency, transparency, and investor confidence. Another good development in Africa is the AfCFTA, right? African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Under this type of continental agreement, there's a lot of protocols on investment facilitation, and then these measures will help boost investor confidence and then also help with regional integration efforts.
But you also, your report also warned that globally the FDI, the foreign direct investment, is a bit more volatile elsewhere. So how is this playing out for African economies that rely on foreign capital?
globally, indeed, 2025, we're seeing a negative outlook. The first quarter, we're already seeing record low project announcements, both in terms of deals and volume. So this is largely due to the current uncertainties and geopolitical tensions, right? Investors are delaying their decision-making. The multinational corporations are not making investment decisions because, of course, the uncertainties in terms of cost structure and market access. So all these factors are bringing more uncertainties to 2025. So that's why I think in 2025 will be particularly challenging. So it's even more important for Africa to advance in the areas like regional integration, investment climate improvement, and also pipeline preparation to boost investment readiness.
And quickly, if you may, talking about foreign partners, what about China? What role is it playing?
Okay, so in terms of the large investors for Africa, Europe still remains the top one, right? And US ranks number 2, China is number 3 in that order. And we're seeing that the Chinese investment in the continent via the Belt and Road and initiative are now moving beyond just infrastructure. We are seeing more investment in the social and livelihood sectors as well. For example, from health, right? For health sector, there's pharmaceutical investment increasing, agriculture, food processing plants. So this type of more diversified, productive investment would be very helpful, and then that can potentially create more jobs, and also looking at how to and then Africa can leverage this investment to diversify and build and move up the value chain, right? For in the past, there's a lot of investment extractive industry. So I think there's a really strong policy movement in Africa to think how can we retain more value on the continent to create more manufacturing capacity on the continent.
Thank you very much, Natalie Collins, for this encouraging news coming out of the continent business-wise. Thank you very much. Natalie Collins is Director for Investment and Enterprise at the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. Thank you very much. Now, Nigeria has welcomed the return of over 100 Benin Bronzes from the Netherlands, marking one of the largest restitutions of colonial-era artifacts since British forces looted these treasures from Benin City in 1897. 4 of the returned pieces will be displayed at the National Museum in Lagos, while the remaining artifacts will be housed in a new facility at the National Museum in Benin City. Emily Boyle has more.
After a 5,000-kilometre voyage from the Netherlands, these boxes have finally arrived in Nigeria. The precious cargo, 119 pieces of the Benin Bronzes, treasures of the ancient Kingdom of Benin, stolen by colonial British forces over 120 years ago.
I think with the Benin Bronzes, we know what happened to them. We know why they were taken out of Nigeria, when they were taken out of Nigeria. So when you do the analysis, when you do the study, and that has been done in the Netherlands also of this collection, the provenance of these objects, it was time for us to bring them back.
The Benin Bronzes were created between the 13th and the 16th centuries. They are the best remnants of Benin art created by the Edo people.
And to deem it necessary to return, those artifacts is something that we really cherish. It's important because it's like restoration of dignity.
The artworks used to decorate the royal palace of the Kingdom of Benin, now Edo State in Nigeria. But seeking revenge for a previous ambush, British colonial forces invaded Benin City as part of a punitive expedition in 1897. The British killed thousands of locals, set fire to houses and stole the bronzes from the royal palace.
Step in the right direction, but eventually we would like to see the 900. I think the collection is over 900 pieces. We would like to see it return because it's not just art, it is a part of history, especially history that is mostly oral.
This latest delivery is the largest physical return to Nigeria since the looting of the Benin Royal Palace. The Benin Bronzes are still spread across around 160 museums worldwide.
That's more good news to conclude Eye on Africa. Thank you for watching.